Good evening. Tonight we have Conversations in Hip Hop. I'm Andre, a.k.a. Andre Dawn Music, with Tariq Bayan, with the International Underground Entertainment Magazine, Ugmagonline.com. Tonight's facilitator is PhD Princess Tillman. Princess Tillman, say hi to the listeners.
Hi, peace, brothers and sisters.
Hello,
How's it going?
All right. All is well. All right, can you start off tonight's discussion with Conversations in Hip Hop? What were you talking about tonight?
Okay, our Conversations in Hip Hop, I thought that it would be a significant topic to bring to the conference in regards to substances. When I mean substances, I mean controlled substances, alcohol, marijuana, drugs within the hip-hop community as well as the music. But since this is zeroed on the hip-hop per se, and in lieu of what has occurred and continuously to occur within the hip-hop culture, for instance, Chris Kelly of Chris Cross, hip-hop icon, as they would like to project him to be, him overdosing on drugs, substance abuse. I think that that's something that's really not discussed. It's always blown up in the media, but I wanted to have a feedback in regards to what others thought about this particular topic. And what kind of impact do you think that it may serve in the hip-hop community?
Okay. Well,
hello?
I guess I'm first in line to reply. This is Tariq. And basically when it comes to substance and hip-hop, see, there's a lot to that because there's so many different things. Like substance can affect hip-hop before it even gets to the artist speaking as a rapper. Like it starts with him growing up or her growing up seeing substance through his or her family. And so that's it may not be directly affecting them through the physical, but they still see it and they're affected by it internally. And then when they grow up, if they choose to use those substances as well, those things that triggered various things in the human body. And you got all these different like artists now, like doing these new things called Mollies and having the group strung out on the Mollies, and they think, okay, just give her a Molly and it's on. So substance has a huge effect on hip hop. Now, a lot of substances that we're saying right now is negative. There's also positive substance because we have good substances that are good, which is what we're doing now. We have knowledge, we have books. There are different things that you can indulge in and digest. That substance is the same thing. And in some cases, if you apply it to hip hop, you'll get groups like X-Clan, Brand Nubians, Public Enemy, KRS-One. I can go on for days and days. Poor Righteous Teachers. And then when you have the other substance, you get groups like Little Stain, Fake, Nicki Minaj. You know what I'm saying? So,
yes.
I got to say about substances. I mean, there's a lot more, but I'm going to pass it to someone else to speak their piece.
Peace. How you doing?
Peace, brother.
This is a lot magnetic. To add on to what you were saying, I think that the problem is not the substances. The problem is the fact that the people don't have a firm knowledge of self. The problem is if you don't know what you're doing, you're experimenting. And if you don't know what you're doing, that's what leads to problems. So we're really dealing with a lack of people who have a lack of self-control. You know, and let's talk about what drugs really are. I mean, are we talking about marijuana, cocaine, Molly, and this new synthetic stuff? there's all kinds of different drugs. You have pharmaceutical drugs, and then you have things that are classified by the government as drugs, when they're really just herbs and things that our people have been using for thousands of years, but with knowledge, you see. So therefore, the problem is not the substance. The problem is the substance in the hands of people who are not in control of their faculties, who do not have the discipline to know what they're doing to themselves and how they're handling it. Just like with any prescription that you get from pharmaceutical drug companies that operate legally all over this planet Earth, that make billions of dollars, and nobody is sending anybody to jail over it, and these are synthetic substances, they even give you a label with a warning on it that explains to you how this should be used, how you should take this substance. Should you eat before you take this substance? Should you drink 1 glass of water, 3 glasses of water? You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
The problem is also that children are being exposed to this irresponsibly, through hip-hop music or rap music, really. And since we're going to make that tie or link to the music, I have to say 2 things about that, 2 sides of the coin. And one side of the coin, you have the fact that music and drugs have always gone hand in hand. It's not just hip-hop.
Absolutely.
Since jazz, since Dizzy Gillespie, since all of the
Billie
great
Holiday,
music, all of them.
Johnny Parker, Miles Davis.
Exactly. So, I think hip-hop gets demonized, and we also have to look at the other side, which is that hip-hop is not hip-hop anymore. It's been taken over by corporate forces and corporate interests. Hip-hop actually represents the exact opposite of what it was intended to be in the first place. See what I'm saying? So, when you have to look at it from that perspective. I think the artists get demonized when they're just really trying to support themselves and their families, and they're really at the bottom of the totem pole. We should hold them to some level of accountability, but we have to look at the labels. We have to look at, the fact that conscious music is overlooked and say, are we supporting it? If there's a TV on in your household with Nicki Minaj on it, and we all know who Nicki Minaj is, we need to turn it off. We need to stop buying her records as a people. You know what I'm saying? Instead of
patronizing her, patronizing those things.
So that goes back once again to having knowledge of yourself and self-control, because this is our compass. This is how we navigate the world, how we decide what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. That's self-control, and that also comes with a destiny, a goal, bringing something to fruition. What do we want to do? What do we want to achieve? What do we want to accomplish? So if we don't know that as a people, drugs will continue to run rampant, and obviously our neighborhoods have been flooded with drugs due to all kinds of government operations over the last 100 years, maybe even more than that. And we also have to stop looking at ourselves as the problem and go outside of just saying, oh, well, it's these young kids in hip-hop. There's a machine in place right now. And this machine, it involves think tanks, and billions of dollars are spent to make sure that we waste our time pointing the finger at that young artist, plastering his face on the news, or looking at young black men in stereotypical fashion. They're creating these stereotypes. So are we looking at the Russell Trust and the Russell family who smuggled the drugs in and did the opium trade in China, where they forced the leaders and the people of China to be doped up for all of these years until they had the opium wars? The same Russell family who founded Yale and all of these universities on drug money? Is that what we're talking about when we talk about substances? You understand what I'm saying? So we have to look at people, we have to know how deep the rabbit hole goes and not just look at the surface of it. And is it a problem that we want to eliminate? Do we want to say no, our people? Because that's what we have to do, start thinking as a governing body as a people, and stop incorporating our mindset with the mindset of mainstream, middle, or corporate America. You see what I'm saying? We have to start thinking, unfortunately, we don't have the same propensity to be diverse as other groups of people, because they're not looked at the same way we are. They're not oppressed in the same fashion that we are. So we unfortunately have to think monolithically, at least for a while, until we can get what we need to build for ourselves and determine our own goals. And then we don't have to complain about Nicki Minaj or Interscope Records or any of these corporate monsters that are raping the planet.
Excellent feedback, brother. I agree 100%. But also, I find from being a former hip-hop artist myself, and at one time or another indulged into drugs for it giving me a false image, and I'm almost 50 years old. So I'm going back to the latter 70s, the beginning of the 80s. Just like you stated that a lot of the stuff, and Tariq had a touch point on it as well, it goes according to environmental factors. There's so many factors that are filtered in. And from my experience with the entertainment industry, it's like a harbor for drugs when it comes to minority artists. It's a form of oppression, and it's purposely and intentionally done. Because even with me, I wouldn't say that I was strung out to the point where I was on a street corner and I was selling myself, but my spirit. At one point, I could not go in the studio and lay tracks without having a joint or a sniff, or a little drink. I wasn't much of a drinker, And when we talk about substance, we talk about the government approved, because alcohol is a drug too. And, a lot of times if those things are not used in moderation, and some things are just not with the intent to use in moderation, just like the comparison with prescription drugs. If on the label it says take as prescribed, and an individual begins to sell and take them as a recreational instead of, for instance, like a pain medication or the oxycodone. A lot of times folks are getting strung out on oxycodone because after 2 weeks there's a physical dependency. It's an opiate. And in the hip-hop industry as a whole, it's like running rampant because of the commercial and synthetic drugs of the Mollies and things like that. Lil Wayne has experienced 2 seizures. If I'm not mistaken, he experienced the earlier part of this week, and it's a form of oppression. And what do we do as a culture, and knowledge and very conscious people? Do we have an obligation, or, where would we start to try to spearhead a movement to kind of change that?
Okay, I can possibly assist in where you can start, where we can start. Just to really say one thing, we already started. A lot of people just not aware of it yet, and what we have to do is let people know that we started, so that they can join. The way we started is we created a forum that allows people to go through certain particular steps, levels of understanding. By the time they get to the top, they should be prepared to join the mission. And it's not a negative mission. It's a positive mission of education. Once you understand who you are, where you've been, and then you can figure out where you're at, and by then
where you go. And where's your destiny?
So we may not really know where we want to go. Some people may not know. Some people may have an idea where they might want to go. But collectively, if we put all of our minds together, we'll get there. Now, the way we started is we allow the forum to pay the artist, because reason that you have a lot of that negative music out there is because a lot of people are living a lifestyle that they go out and they sell drugs, or they do different things illegally so that they can generate revenue. And they don't have any other outs, because they get these records on their name and they don't have any other way to get the type of job that can support the lifestyle they're used to living.
Right.
And so if there was a song selling right now that was positive, saying uplift all the children, free the slaves, or whatever, something real positive or whatever, that if it's sold, then people would start making records like that. But what's happening is that's not being promoted, not being marketed and promoted properly. Just like you hear LL complaining about Jay-Z not promoting his album. Redman, same thing. You know, because they have their own agenda in mind, and it's not to promote what we want to promote. So the only way to change it is we have to promote it and market it ourselves to our people who are interested in the conscious music and who are not interested, because everybody that I've talked to when I'm in Atlanta, when I'm in Jersey and New York, they all say the same thing. They don't like what they're hearing on the radio. It's all garbage. I must have heard it about 50 times in the last maybe 3 to 6 months. So it must be true when the masses are saying the same thing. And I don't even have to really ask. Now I do it for fun. I say, what you think about the music that's on the radio? Everybody say, oh, it's garbage. It's the same song over and over again. Everybody here, I know y'all heard it at least 10 times.
Absolutely. It's so redundant. And it has no substance.
So why isn't it changing? Because they don't want it to change. Now, what are you going to do about it? When you can't get a job, you go create a job. So what we're doing now is we're providing a forum where we can go out, take these artists, sell their records on the tour, 20-state tour, and pretty much the artists can perform, get paid for performing. We'll have a headline act on there as well to attract the crowd, but the headline act will be somebody like a Tribe Called Quest or the artist I mentioned earlier, positive groups that we feel will lead and who are already established. Those are the ones that we have to get together to step up to the plate, because they're the ones that's letting us down. And they're just leaving thinking in a way like, yeah, you guys are out there on your own. I got my money. Or matter of fact, I didn't even get my money. I got jerked. Now, y'all getting all of the money, but y'all are stupid. So what we have to do is get those elders in hip-hop to step up to the plate now and start showing these artists, okay, we'll have them headline on the show. But all of the artists that are in the lineup to perform, they have a conscious or positive message, and they're going to get paid to perform and do that. If we don't provide a forum to allow them to get paid, they're going to go and do the music that's paying. That's the bottom line, because people are going to feed their kids, no matter what they got to do. If it's to sell a substance or to, and then once again, breaking down the word substance, because that's the word and the topic of the night. There's good and there's bad with a substance. You know, you have your negative and your positive. So
absolutely,
substance. We have to provide that good positive substance. We have to do that. And if we sit and wait for someone to let us in, we're just the slaves waiting to be free again. I'm not a slave. I'm free already. And I don't care how many bills I might have or how many courts, whoever tells me whatever, at the end of the day, I know I have a connection with the one that created me.
Absolutely.
And I have to look or ask for that. I know. I close my eyes and I'm there. You know, and I can imagine what else is out there. So I'm not locked into these words, either American words. So we're trying to put this together now. We're trying to do it now. I believe we are doing it. So this is my speech. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it off to somebody else.
Okay.
Everybody's scared to talk. Nobody want to say that. They don't know what to say. All these intelligent minds in here talking before, interrupting each other, doing other conversations, wanting to hurry up and get their words out. Now we talking about
money in the building, and I tuned in a little late, but I'm
here. They got nothing to say. Okay, there's someone on there? Hey, I'm talking too much. Who's this?
Hey, this is A Money. I tuned in a little late for the beginning of the topic, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm here. Hello to everybody.
Oh, wow. A Money.
Hey, Emily.
Ironic, all these black men not having nothing to say, and who steps up? A woman. That's really funny. So that should tell everybody something now. That women, you're going to have to step up to the plate. And not you directly, A Money. I'm saying women that listen to this show. And you're going to have to step up to the plate now and educate your children, your black men, and don't let them indulge in those substances. And I'm not talking about the drugs yet. I'm talking about the music, the television, the cable, any distraction to take them away from understanding who they truly are and connecting with their creator. That's a substance. And so what we got to do is, if you're going to use it, we have to. We survive off of substances, so we have to just choose the right ones. And that goes from our food to what type of music or entertainment we indulge in. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and let you speak, A-Money, because I've been speaking a lot now, okay?
So basically you're saying that for myself and other women that, you know, we should start with ourselves by feeding our mind and our soul with the, you know, the correct substance, and therefore maybe the man that's in the household or that's around us in our little circumference will start doing the same, because most of the time the men do follow the women even if they don't want to admit that, but they do.
I say. Well, Black Power, Hotep, peace and love. I guess I'm gonna say I'm new. I just met these brothers today. My name is Shungo from Buffalo, New York, and I guess the topic today is what hip hop and substance abuse. And you know, I guess you know, if I have an opinion at all, you know, I like to just elaborate on, you know, the problem in hip-hop and substance abuse as a combination, you know, because one really can't exist without the other, as somebody elaborated before, but the energy and the very core of the essence could be taken away, and it has been. I think it was Paul Rutsch's teacher who made the point to say that, you know, music is the revolutionary word towards social and political and economic change. We remember in 1990, a crackhead by the name of Rodney King got beat. You know what I'm saying? And if we can recall, some of us was old enough at that time, we recall the hottest album at that time. I mean, the hottest song that was getting spin at that time was Fight the Power. And,
yes.
You know what happened in L.A., you know, erupted. You know, we was getting songs from Ice Cube called Black Korea and Cave, you know what I'm saying? But crackers is clever, you know, and crackers study us better than we study ourselves. You understand that vibrational tone has to be cut down. So in the past 10, 20 years, it has been a mass movement to kill that energy, being the reason why you don't see any groups. You know, groups in hip-hop was unity. First and foremost, it was unity. You know, when we had Tribe Quest and all of these other positive groups, whom my brother just mentioned a little earlier, you know, show unity and the way that we put things together. It's kind of like a bird. When you see a bird or butterflies fly, or you see fish in the ocean and they in sync where they crossing each other thousands, hundreds of millions of miles per hour, but they're not bumping into each other. That's kind of like the social order we have when it came to hip-hop. And we get in tune with that when we indulge and we say the sacred mushroom, what we call the green one, Osiris. You know what I'm saying? Going back to Kemet. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand the power of these substances and how it can be abused. I think Phil Valentine said it is best. Nothing wrong with it, but if you're not studying behind it, you miss the point. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just want us to be mindful of the treacherous tactics that has been used to demonize the music. You know, we don't know about Tavistock Institution in England, where these crackers get up every year and decide what 40 songs is going to be played on the radio, and, you know, who's going to wear this. You know, it's not one's doing with the tight jean thing. You know, this is thought in a lab, and it was put upon our people to demasculine them and over-masculine the women. You know what I'm saying? So it's a treacherous tactic that we have to really study esoteric science to really understand what's been put upon us.
Absolutely.
Only then we get out the matrix, as we call it. You know, the mindset. So, you know, that's my words, and that's my piece on it. If it helped out a lot of it.
Thank you so much, brother. That was very informative, because I, too, believe, because I can, and wanting to have this conversation in hip-hop in regards to substance abuse, from my own experience, with the music industry and the hip-hop industry in particular, and, the different facets that impacted it, especially a woman in the hip-hop industry in the 70s, which I posed a threat to a lot of the brothers. And, as a result, it led me to branch out into knowledge. And then I learned more about energy and the comedics. And as I continue to blossom, and because I always say that I'm still in my metamorphosis, the caterpillar making that transition to the butterfly. And I'm the type of sister that I don't want to leave anybody behind. And it's so ironic. Chuck D is even, he's getting ready to, and he may have. I haven't been keeping up with him because I am friends with one of his, who's a very conscious brother, and I need to get him on the forum sometime in the future, Dre. His name is DJ Journey. And, when I walk around, I've been told that people can feel my energy because they can feel my chi. And because I walk around with stones, I walk around with crystals, pyrites, centrons, and, all sorts of things, and I pray and meditate, and I know about that place of going to the inner self to be able to understand. And Chuck D is coming out with a distribution deal for certain particular artists. And someone that I was involved with in the music industry years ago had brought me in on it and, pulled my coat and said, listen, any artists that are conscious-driven, Chuck D is getting ready to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And as he's doing that, he's looking at all of the rhetoric that the record companies have been putting the artists through. And a lot of times this is set up with the record companies too, because they allow a lot of artists to use drugs recreational. And I believe that they set it up that the drug dealers are there on deck. That's my personal opinion, really. It is. Really, because they have the power where if they're spending and they're investing a certain amount of money, certain things like that wouldn't be tolerated. Exactly. But before I go on a tangent with Chuck D, this distribution deal is 80% goes to the artist, 20% goes for the distributor. And that's a good deal. But it's the only catch to it is it's album deals. It's not single track deals. And, Chuck has always thought about, and it has to be digital mastered, because he's a very conscious brother, and conscious he is, he sees what's going on, the overall view, and he's like ahead of the game. And that's where we have to beam and focus and meditate on to kind of beat and learn how to win our oppressor. We have to make certain moves to kind of put us in a platform that, we are masterminding the oppressor. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that made any sense, but, that's, what I wanted to put out there.
Yeah, I understand what you definitely, what you're saying. And then again, in this point, it's what you elaborated, what you touched on, I think it has to be important for us to say that many people have died trying to get try to achieve what Chuck D is trying to do. It started with Sam Cooke. These are black people who try to distribute their own money. So the brother has a humongous fight on his hands going against these cracker Jews. who virtually have a 100% market on this thing we call hip hop, something that they something they didn't even want to touch 20, 30 years ago, but now it becomes marketable. But might I say this though, when it comes to drugs and hip hop, everything needs a market. I mean, you have to market the drug. So a lot of us don't remember what happened in 1989 when Public Enemy had a song out that kind of shook up America. Now, this song wasn't on the radio, and it didn't have no videos to it. And the song was called Fuck the Police. You know what I'm saying? And that song was so impacting across the nation that it sparked kind of like an uprising. You know what I mean? A little small uprising. So what happened was, who invited Eazy-E out to the White House? George Bush. And they had a meeting, about whatever they had a meeting about. But all I know is after that, the tone started to change, and it became Dope Man. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the drug need a market. We know Freeway Ricky Ross and the Contras around that time, was roaming the streets. And, it was creating the illusion that everybody could be a dope man. You see what I'm saying? So we have to really understand how hip-hop is used to market certain products. And might I say, my name is Shango Oya. I actually have a blog talk radio show every Saturday. And I have people, such as King Samir. He just did the show 2 weeks ago, and about to have Baba Booker T. Coleman on pretty soon. And you can check me out at Comedic Ascendants blog talk radio. Just type in Comedic Ascendants on the search, and you'll get the whole catalog. And I appreciate
Connecticut. What? What is it? Connecticut what?
Comedic Ascendants. That's
Comedic. Okay.
Might I spell it KHAMETIC? That's Comedic Ascendants. ASCENDANTS. Comedic Ascendants.
Okay. Comedic Ascendants.
Every Saturday I'm on, 3-hour show, and we growing just like y'all. And I like to say thanks for having me on. Anybody that allow a black person to have a voice has to be commended. We know that our voice is very seldomly heard, and the fact that we can come on and get on cracker forums like this and talk about their ass is really informative to me. You know what I'm saying? Share what y'all doing.
Shango, I'm happy that you online too, bringing another brother. This is Neil Mack, Buffalo Kings, Neurotic Block Entertainment, UG Mag online, baby, and Lexus Honey Dip. Listen, what we doing right now collectively, and I'm talking about not even just the topic of what we're talking about. I just want to say collectively what we're doing, man, building these conversations, building these avenues where we can build, share information, and get back to the each one, teach one mentality, man. I think it's very important. And everybody with Shango's radio show. Right, that's real talk. And with the Griot Nation radio show, UG Online on Mag, and everybody else, A-Money, and everybody else that has a radio show with this capacity and this conversation and dialect, and it's powerful. So we got to know that we stand with power. We move with power. We got to understand our power, because sometimes we forget what our power is. And right now we're building, and this is bringing positive energy, man. So I just want to thank everybody who's online, who continue to get online and, spreading the word about everybody's show, so we can build and have, bases across the world right now.
Absolutely.
That's my take.
Absolutely, because what I also am, I'm a publicist, so I do PR work. A lot of times I'm in various different venues, because I'm very impressed on how, sometimes you have to rub elbows with the enemies, because, it's like keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer, because, it's a way of knowledge for me, and I get a chance to learn a lot. And also, it's a form of camaraderie for me. I was just with Dr. Celicia Thompson last week. Dr. Celicia Thompson is the sibling of John Johnson. Well, she's the daughter of John Johnson, and also the sibling of Celicia Johnson.
Right with you.
Hello?
Yeah, we're listening.
Okay. Which gives me a different platform because I bring to the table a lot of positive chi. I'm always invited for different venues because of how I conduct myself. And, when you don't have to brag or boast, but I'm a publicist, so I'm up. I have to be involved in various different venues. And the most part venues that I enjoy is more of the conscious settings. I attend a lot of conscious showcases, and then I attend the other showcases with all the nonsense. And those showcases kind of debate. And where I'm at is that I only deal with clients of mine that are conscious basis. Some folks are into it just for the capitalism, for the revenue, for the money. I go a little deeper than that, being the fact that I am, my own, small business owner, WMBE, whatever you want to call it. I have a right that I don't have anybody dictating over me what I have to, put aside and compromise my principles. Artists that I do work with, I've had to go to a point and ask them to groom certain things of their lyrics and their persona, because the energy, with the 12 and 12 that occurred last year and it's moving forth in 2013, there's a whole shift of energy. And it's coming more full circle in our way, in consciousness. So, with that being said, it's I'm glad that I can be in a forum now I can say I'm home. You understand? And at the same time, look at different ways of how to promote and to get this thing out, because just like they do it with the negative, we can do it with the positive too. We don't always have to stay underground. Harriet Tubman didn't stay underground forever.
Yeah, I share. I think it's vital. I think it's important to understand how order works, and I think that even to this day we haven't really mastered order. Sometimes us as black folks get comfortable in one element and change, and we get stuck there. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm saying is this: is we need a fraternal order. We need a code of silence. We need some secrecy between the family. The family of Africans. And we have to really approach that situation to really protect not just our history, but our children too. It was as if you was in a house and mama told you what goes in the house stays in the house. You know what I'm saying? And, Malcolm told us when we need an organization where we don't see each other with our our religious views. We got to, be, what do you say? We got to be civilized when we have arguments. Because this cracker, he know we wear our emotions on our sleeves. We get in these forums and we get heated and, we get to arguing on this radio and it makes us real unproductive.
Right.
The hip hop artists do it themselves. Do the same thing. Case in point, Biggie and Tupac. Had they would have just imagine them two big giants of hip hop had to argue their differences behind closed doors, and the world would have never known.
Absolutely.
The It's been a whole different game today. You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand, and we have to really learn from our past. We have to learn to not repeat certain careless mistakes that we repeated in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so forth and so forth. You know, because as we evolve, the brain evolves. You know, I tell these young brothers, I ask the young brothers, I say, what's good? And they say, well, you know, same old, same old. And I look at them like, really? Since you were 16, it's the same old, same old? You know what I'm saying? What kind of elevation is that? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really important for us to really to ask people questions. You know what I'm saying? And really promote the fact that we need a fraternal order, and we don't need no bootlicking, buck dancing niggas that's gonna sell us out the minute they get $2. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we have to really create structure. It should be a Masonic and fraternal order based upon how we look at our future. You know what I'm saying? We have to smooth out these rough edges, as the Masons say. You know, the Masons say we've been dealt a blow to the head and rendered dead. You know what I'm saying? So it's time for us gods and goddesses alike to come and raise the dead. You know, when we talk about allegorical stories within the Bible of the resurrection, you know, these are stories that we need to really take in count. You know, one minute in church they say, you know, I'm protected by the hedge of God, and then they ask you to for protection, you know, to walk up to the car and stuff. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, right, you know.
Yes, that was very enlightening. As we said before, you know, the energy is about the energy right now that's going on as vibration as far as the cleansing, right? That's going through my own little personal cleansing, you know, myself, of being in the entertainment business, going around those vices, you know, as a mean of self-control. And that's what we're doing together collectively. That's why we have this forum, to get together and speak on these topics, so we could channel out different avenues and different ideas to put together a formula, a thought process to overcome these things. And UG-Mag right now, what we're doing is through magnetism. You know, so no pun intended, that we have magnetic here, that is through magnetism, that electricity, that melanin, you know, the sound that we're doing is the sound, this vibration, this light, all of these things in combination. This is the motivation. It's not even about me. So sometimes I got to watch and I got to catch myself. That sometimes I got to remember that it's not even about me. It's about all those people who suffered, sacrificed, and prayed for us to come, you know, as a black people. And not only that, it's for all those who are after us, where they come through the door, through the portal, to come through. It's for them too. Because if we close that door, what we're doing is we're creating genocide. They're saying that is on the air right now is a genocide, and it's based on the substance. So it needs to be a cleansing, a rejuvenation, and that's why I point this when I text everyone. This is a vibration. This is something that we're doing is to revive hip-hop, you know, to bring out its true form again, its true character of hip-hop.
Right.
Peace. It's magnetic. I think that, you know, I like the direction that the conversation took, because it you know, it went off of the negative and the who's doing this to us and to what are we going to do and what should we do and what do we need to be doing and what, you know, instead of looking back.
Absolutely.
So, you know, anytime we talk about the future and what we're going to do, that's good. And in that line of thought, I think that what we need to do is get serious about the situation that we're in. And, you know, majority of black people are ignorant, and the root of ignorance is ignoring, and that's what our people have been doing for generations. It's almost genetic within us now to ignore reality as it's presented to us.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you know, we get all bent out of shape when they say Eminem is the best rapper. Like, Jews ain't running the whole damn music industry. That's foolish. You know, why do we get upset when we see images on TV that we don't like, promoted by stations that we don't own? You understand what I'm saying? So this is a foolish way of thinking. This is a way of thinking that it's only going to result in folly every time. The civil rights movement is the best example of how much we've failed, and it's looked at as the exact opposite. So, you know, we're dealing with, you know, tricky situations. So we start really dealing with things for what they are and not what we'd like them to be, then we can build what we would like to see. We need to stop with complaining about our enemy. Just like Malcolm said, you know, you're going to complain when a dog bites you? While you sitting there petting the dog and laying in the bed with the dog? That's what we've been doing. You know, so we need to start getting serious about determining our own destiny as a future, and that starts with government, a governing body. And it doesn't necessarily have to coincide theologically. It doesn't necessarily have to coincide economically. But in its base spiritual resonance, it does have to coincide. So there's certain things that we agree with as a people, and we move from there. But we can't deal like with what my brother just said with the Uncle Toms. We can't deal with the Boule. We can't deal with, you know, these NAACP, you know what I'm saying? We can't deal with that because they are in a certain position, and that position that they're in is not in our best interest. That doesn't mean that they're not our brothers and sisters. You know, at the end of the day, they are pawns in a game, and they're playing for the other team. So we have to realize that we're living in a backwards society. So up is down, down is up, left is right. So when you see these organizations that seem to be about, you know, the upliftment or bettering black people, and you see that at the end of the day nothing has changed, and we've given these people the opportunity to lie to us once. So we did that in the 60s. You know, we've done that even before the 60s. You know, and that's why Garvey wasn't successful. That's why Garvey was successful, but he was sabotaged. So we have to deal with the fact that we have the plan. We've always had the plan. We've had the great teachers who've come and given us our revelations for what we need to do in this time. See, it wasn't for that time. They were all giving us a revelation for what we need to be doing now, because we are living in the end game, and we need to really get serious about that. And until we do that, we're still going to be arguing about why Nicki Minaj is wearing a blonde wig and, you know, why that's not righteous and where's Queen Latifah at.
That's deep. Peace. Shungo, you know, anytime you go behind this brother, it's kind of hard to follow. You know what I'm saying? You know, this brother is very wise. And you know, and saying he's another one we need in terms of articulating what it is we go through. You know what I'm saying? And I commend all these brothers, and even Neil, man, you too, bro. You supposed to be here. You know what I'm saying? For you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Doing what we gotta do to enlighten our people.
Neil, Matt.
Yeah, you too, bro. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
you know, like, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, no, this is Tariq. It's Tariq. I was saying, yeah, shout out to Neil Mack.
Thank you. Much love. I appreciate that, y'all.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Because, you know, like I said, man, like the brother said, to have a government is the government of a body, man, you know. And it's all kinds of philosophies in which we can put it. But, you know, I think our problem is, even with us, has been our egos that have been the vocal point of, in the less focused point of keeping us back, you know what I'm saying? anytime this white man stroke our ego, we become somebody else. You know, both black nationalists, coon niggas, righteous niggas, and all of them, you know what I'm saying, has an ego problem, you know what I'm saying, and it's the ego that we have to come to balance, and only then we will succeed. Yeah. And why do I say this, though? Truth is like a broken glass, you know, that's sharpened in pieces, and oftentimes we'll pick up one piece of that broken glass and say, ooh, see, I got truth, but we only got one piece of glass, you know what I'm saying, and we so caught up in our emotions, and we so caught up in what we don't know in our belief systems, you know, that we rarely even think about coming together and putting those pieces together to create one whole. You know what I'm saying? So this is a very, very interesting topic. And we can go around the world when it comes to our conditions, because our condition hasn't changed since 1865. You know what I'm saying? When they so-called emancipated the Negro. You see what I'm saying? So anytime you have that, you know, Malcolm words is alive, because we're still in the same condition. And, you know, it's both a blessing and a curse at the same time, because it lets us know what we have not been doing. And, you know, the times is changing. The cosmos is here. So, you know, let us wise up, wake up, and straighten up, you know what I mean, and become whole again, you know. So that's my piece, you know, on the topic. And I'm going to let y'all finish out.
Peace. Yeah, I think, you know, my closing statement would be to give the flip side of the coin that I just gave, and that's also to realize that we are not them, so we don't fight like them. Our power has always been something metaphysical, something beyond that which is tangible, and we have to get back to that, and that's what art is, that's what music is, that's what all of the many sciences that our ancestors laid down for us. And we have to also stop compartmentalizing our way of thinking, and that's westernized. You know, breaking things down into sections. See, everything we did was art. Everything we did was music. Everything we did was magic. You see what I'm saying? So there was a soul and a rhythm to everything that we do. So we need to get back to that. That's all about getting back in tune with who we really are. So once again, that's about self-determination and finding out who we really are by what resonates with us. You know when you hear truth, it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. So stop playing, you know, and get down with what we know is right. And those who are not about doing that will eventually eliminate themselves, because the planet is changing, the environment is changing, technology is changing. And if you don't change with the times, you're going to die.
Yes, Magnetic.
I have to say, please.
I want to add on. I'd like to add on to what you're saying there, Magnetic. Hello, you there?
Yeah, who's speaking?
Yeah, this is Tariq. I just want to add on to what you were saying there, because you said it yourself. You know, we could die. Everything we're doing right now could die. All of the stuff we're working for, there's a chance that it may not make it, and that we could lose this battle. And the only way to win this battle now is if people like us right here on this call, on these shows that we're doing, we have to now understand how they're attacking us, how they're combating it. And, you know, one of the main things that I want everybody to focus on is a new word. Now, maybe we can use this for our next conversation, but it's called frequency. And what's happening is the frequencies, that's how they're controlling us. Because our bodies are made up of electricity. I mean, not our body, but we have electricity in us, inside of our body, which that fire that's burning, that electricity that's keeping us alive, that battery that's keeping our heart beating every day. That frequency that we hear that calls the conscious music, that's coming from our ancestors trying to remind us of our history and trying to keep us embracing that and keep us pushing forward. But then that other frequency that tries to distort that's the negative. So there's the positive and there's the negative. And they're both fighting. And we're caught up in between that with a physical body. Now, the way that these frequencies work is you might simply be walking down the street and hear an idea in your head of a song, but you're not the only one that got that idea. It's a frequency or a certain pulse that went out, and other people got that same idea. But those people who are in the studio right there at that point, or have a pen, or actually have the guts to write it down or remember it, they actually record the song and they put the song out. So there are other things that may happen. You may be sitting in your car and you think about a song, and then you turn on the radio, and then that song is already playing right there. And so you already picked up the frequency before you turn your car radio on to tune into the frequency, because you were automatically tuned in. But now there are certain things that they do to distract us by using frequencies as well. When you have a business meeting going on, now your favorite TV show just so happens to be coming on, or you're supposed to wake up at a certain time in the morning and your alarm clock goes off and the song that's playing delivers a particular message to you to start off your day, and tune in your frequency to a particular one that may cause you to, be a little agitated during the course of the day. So they get to us through our music, through our cell phones, through our television, through just about anything that connects electricity. So that's the one thing I want everybody to keep a lookout for. Look at the numbers on the clock. Look at the things that happen in sequence. Those are your ancestors trying to talk to you and tell you things. They're trying to give you messages. We just have to read them. They can't talk. I don't know that they can. I'll just say maybe they can't talk in a physical form, but they use these frequencies to try to communicate with us. So that's really how I want to add on and close out with what you were saying there, Magnetic. So that's it. If anyone else want to say anything pertaining to this topic, please feel free to add in now. It's almost pushing time to wrap up.
Well said.
Well, you hit it right on note, dealing with the frequencies. That's right.
Absolutely. And the vibration.
That's what we're talking about. That's what it all ties in. That's the frequency that, I was mentioning about our ancestors giving us that beyond here, beyond this planet. That frequency, when they say that here it is, our messages sometimes come from the cosmos. That's it, right there, that frequency. The frequency that heals without touch. That's the frequency. So we're on the same wave. Let's continue it on. Let's ride it out. And if you're not natural, right here, your frequency is disturbed. I've seen a commercial on right now. They have these brain games. And they show the example how if you change the frequency, how water running down, you can make the water run up.
Dre, they cut off your frequency. They cut off the American people's frequency when they stopped giving us electric food. When they started making everything a subsidiary, a piece of the actual food that has electricity. The piece of the thing that grows. If it grows from the ground and provides electricity for you, they're going to take that and reproduce it and clone it so that it's dead now. And now you're eating dead foods. You're eating animals and things that your teeth are not even equipped to rip into their flesh to chew, but you're still eating that blood. They're detuning you now. With just being in this country, you're detuned. Everything here is in reverse from what we need to live. This side of the world is not. We're not eating or doing the things over here. Not to say that the earth doesn't grow it. We're just not permitted because the people who control this land that's not theirs are forcing us to have certain things when you cross their border.
Absolutely. And I noticed even when I'm journeying out for different areas, like I attend a meditation session every Thursday, a guided meditation in Jackson Heights, Queens. Now, that's more of like the Hindu areas. And I noticed the difference, and it has been brought to attention some time ago, how they have more of the fruits and vegetable stands in abundance in those areas. But however, you can come to a minority area and you don't have the variety and the access to those things that would be, brain food, mind generating, energy generating. We don't have access to that. If you go into the bodega, you see the beer and the alcohol in the front and the juices and things in the back. And that sugar water and stuff like that. I don't know how my granddaughter even drink that stuff.
It's called the extract. What they do is they take what really has life in it and they extract it just enough to reproduce or clone it and then feed that to the people. Because you're not actually eating live food that gives you life and reproduces and replenishes your body. They're giving you something that's dead. It doesn't do anything for you. It's like putting a dead battery in a remote control or one that's almost dying. Well, actually, no life in it at all. And it tastes like the real thing. It tastes good, but it's not. Well, even the vitamins that they're giving you, the vitamin A, B, C, D, you can go up the alphabet with an extract. And then you're giving your kids this stuff, and it's not the real thing. It's a little sample of what it's supposed to be like. And the real thing is in the root or the herb or whatever grew from the ground.
Absolutely.
Has electricity in it. You eat that or drink that or whatever that is, you get that in your system, and you're going to be a lot better off. And another thing, everybody should start drinking alkaline water because your body is like a battery. And so you have to be positively charged instead of negatively charged. And so you have to start drinking that water to balance out your pH. Your pH balance in your body is real important to how you take information or food or whatever it is, substance, into your body and how it connects with the electrics. So, I would think that we definitely want to be on a positive.
Electrons. Absolutely, because a brother that, I have a lot of dealings with and has gotten a lot of knowledge from Unc Bisen's son. When you go to his house, that's all he has is alkaline water. We call him the mad scientist here in New York. Because he's such a gem. He's always, he has this natural water that he utilizes for meditation. I can't think of the name of it right offhand.
Kangen water. You referring to the Kangen water?
I believe so. But he calls it something a little different. And what it is it's bottled in like a blue quartz. Yeah. And because I didn't realize the power of crystals in that water, that he houses and the impact that it has on the body. I know. Excuse me?
Can I say something now? No, I don't mean to cut you off, but this is real deep, though, because y'all we talking about elements. And I think what element is missing when we talk about water is vibration. And I want to bring it right back to hip-hop. Now, if you're listening to vibration tunes that's not in tune with the 75% of your blood mass, which is water, you know what I'm saying, then you vibrating in the wrong tune. You know what I mean? It's like
it's sound vibration.
Exactly. Because water vibrates off of positive and negative energy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If you hate water and you crystallize it and you freeze it, you'll see how combobulated and how congested the crystals is. But if you with love and peace around your water, which is in your body, you know what I'm saying, then you can understand that you get a perfect geometric shapes within the crystals of that water. You know what I'm saying? So if that's in our body and we steady feeding ourselves with negative vibrations, such as Nicki Minaj and shit, and little
Nicki Minaj.
Okay,
Nicki Minaj, Fake, and Little Stain.
Oh, Little Poop Stain. Hey, okay, yeah, right. I knew it was something like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And T-Stain.
Yeah.
With the vocoder, he's the one that T-Stain. He does that vocoder thing.
Who, T-Pain?
No, T-Stain.
Oh.
and Little Stain, got some big records out. A lot of people.
Peace. Yeah, I guess bringing it back kind of to the topic of food and, how we're being fed the wrong foods and drugs, right, drugs, the original topic, that we have something in this country called the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. That already lets you know that everything you put in your body is a drug, by the definition of the government, because the same people who govern drugs govern the food. So if they're telling you that's one organization, Food and Drug, that's something that we have to pay attention to. They're pretending to have a war on drugs when what they're really doing is attacking actual medicines that we once upon a time knew how to use properly. And while simultaneously, with the other hand, giving you drugs and sodas and all kinds of pastries and candies that they're giving these children, and all of these chemicals are in all of these new products. And what they're doing is the actual drugs. So that's what we need to realize, what type of situation we're in. As a people, we're being attacked on all levels, biologically, economically. So, we have to agree on one thing. We all are opposed to a system of of Western European domination worldwide, So if we can get that through our thick heads as a people, that, hey, this is something that we all agree on, and this is something that we all need to liberate ourselves from, then we can begin to get somewhere, because we know what they're doing to us, most of us. And the ones of us that know what they're doing to us need to spend time telling the people who don't know what they're doing to us what they're doing to us. And less time reconfirming the fact that, is this really happening? Are they really doing this to us? You know what I'm saying? That's been going on for like 10, 15, 20 years now. So we know the situation, and we need to get now on the next level of acting accordingly, adjusting ourselves to that. And the ones that's coming behind us are going to catch up to the speed that we're moving, because we're going to set a new pace and a new vibration, and that's what all of our ancestors and great leaders and great teachers intended for us to do. Somebody has to close the book eventually and start, get off the podium and really organize. And it's being done. It's being done on so many levels. And
our people. That's what it should all be for. That's the bottom line.
What was that? I can't really hear that. What did he say?
The food is messed up. It's time to start buying some land and growing our own food, manufacturing it, canning it, shipping it, whatever need to be done. We have people in our community who know how to do every phase of that. And it's time for us to stop sitting around in rooms and talking all this. Everything I've heard from everybody sounds beautiful. But it's put it in real life application.
Yeah, that real life application. I mean, practice what you preach. And another thing I want to add on is, instead of doing all the preaching, we need to start doing a little bit more teaching, because I've been listening to a lot of debates over the past couple of days, and I noticed one of the biggest upsets in any of these debates, is that when a person tries to force their opinion on someone else, and that is not good. So what you want to do is simply teach a person so that they learn what you learn. Now, one of the things that we tried out with these the kids at the school, we were teaching them some music programs and stuff and educating them on music theory and whatnot. And what I thought would make a lot of sense is, what we agreed that would make a lot of sense was that we don't teach the ones that know enough anymore. But we were to have them turn around and teach. We had the kids pick a partner we had them each attempt a goal, and 3 of them reached the goal, and 3 of them failed. So we had teamed them up. So one that failed was learning directly from one that did reach the goal. And that one that reached the goal will not learn anything new until that other one that failed is on the same level as them. So at that point, we'll have 6 kids equipped to move on to the next step. And we're not allowing anybody to move on until they're all ready. And what that means is you have to take time and teach everybody differently and be patient with each person. And then as a whole, we move as a unit. So everyone that's got your head in the book right now, get your head out of the book. Start teaching what you already know to people who don't know it, and then go back to the books together and choose which are the best books that we should put our head in together, because we'll all be on the same level and with the same amount of information. I know all about the God, the 5% nations. I know all about the Muslims. I know all about the Christians. I want to know all about the Baptists. We want everybody to just stop preaching and just teach it so that a person can digest it and rationalize it and come out with their own decision on what they feel they should do next. So that's really it. I just want to end it out on that note, and pretty much, it's getting closer to closer. So, Andre, you can pretty much narrate everything from here and just, let me know if anybody else got anything to say. Jump in.
Yo, listen, man, I agree with that, Tariq, man. It's Mac, and I definitely agree with that philosophy.
Hey, Tariq, can I tell you something, though? Listen, here's where preaching can become teaching, right? For everything you say, for the person that's listening to you, write your words down and then verify them words. You know what I'm saying? And they come out wise. They come out with wisdom, and they actually come out with the effort. You know what I'm saying? That they went forth. That's what I tell my viewers. When I speak, pen and pad. You know what I mean? Pen and pad. Write down everything. And if I'm lying, test me to it. We become better. You know what I'm saying? Because, we ain't perfect. You know what I'm saying? So, man, that's some real stuff, man. You know what I mean? Tell your audience to have...
Listen, like I was saying, that one, what we talking about, what Tariq was saying, that's another form of each one teach one, man. You understand what I'm saying? Each one teach one, us moving together. You know what I'm saying? Us elevating together, and when he's saying and preaching and not and teaching and not preaching, man, because we want to get something across to each other, man. When we come out these conversations, when we building, we having these sessions and doing whatever we do to teach, whatever form and facet it is, we need to come out with something and not angry at a debate and feel like we have to, next time we get with these people, we got to have one up on them, because we're not going to learn like that. All they're going to do is bring bad tension in between us, and then it's going to bring separation. So we want to teach. I want to know what you know. You should know what I want to know. I know, and let's together. And I feel, that Tariq and what he was saying, that form is a form of each one teach one, and us elevating together, and let nobody fall in the cracks. Unless all of us are going to remove those arrogant attitudes and let's teach. No one's smarter than another. We just maybe read one more book than the next person. So let's be able to teach.
I think you missed the point though. The point wasn't like to have one up on anybody. It was just saying like, look, we all have flaws because we men.
No, that's not even it. See, even that's what I'm talking about. I wasn't even saying it was no point that I was trying to make myself or debate nobody's point. I was agreeing with Tariq because I'm in that class too. I teach class with him. So when I seen that was a philosophy that he introduced to the classroom. So I fell back and I looked and I said, that is a good philosophy to work with the children, because we got more advanced children in that setting. So instead of letting one advanced student shine, let's all shine together. And the student that's more advanced teaching the other children, and everybody's up to speed at the same time. That's all I was saying. Just in concurrence of agreement.
Oh, totally agree. I had no issue with what I'm saying, but with that, I mean that's right and exact, But what I'm saying is, oftentimes there's different methods. Now there's different methods in which you can do in terms of teaching. Like I can teach off of a T-shirt, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like just an image, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying to not take away from different methods in teaching. If I have a preacher who's good at preaching, then I can use him, you know what I'm saying, to preach the word to to bring people to us where we can teach. See what I'm saying? So we utilize everything we have. You know, nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen. Hey, before we get off air, man, I'm here in Buffalo, New York, man. I got a young man. How old are you, man?
I'm 13.
My man is 13, man. All right, he's going to school. He's probably going to play basketball this summer, and he's doing very well in school. And tell them what your average is, man.
My average in school is 95.75.
Come on,
Oh, congratulations, man. You're doing good, man. Keep that up. Keep that up.
He out here. He out here we out here on the street pretty wild. You know, we in Buffalo on the east side. Instead of out here on the corner, man, he out here dribbling his basketball, talking about what summer program he want to get in. You know what I mean? So this is an effort. This another teacher, another griot, another Buffalo King in the making right here, man. So, man, tell him your name, man. Everybody, peace on UG Mag.
Marco Akbar.
Well, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And we're happy to hear positive people such as yourself doing positive things in the community, and keep continuing on. We look forward to seeing you as far as leading the nation. Thank you.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. Neil Mack, the Buffalo King, UG Mag, bridging the gap between the young and the old, the white and the black.
All right. Before we go, I just want to start it off with Mayat. For those people who are into the sciences, Mayat, she represents the balance, how things should go. It was taught to me while I was young from a very important woman, Ola Alatunji, who is Baba Alatunji's wife. So she taught me one jewel. She taught me, well, many jewels, but one thing in particular that represents Maya to me, the balance. She said when you watch someone, you should learn two things, what to do and what not to do. I'm Andre, a.k.a. with Andre Dawn Music, Tariq, all our guests, International Underground Entertainment Magazine, Ugmagonline. Peace.